Mr. Styslinger, let me ask you, how was that meeting and what did you guys talk about?
We had an outstanding meeting this morning and we covered four main areas. We started off with workforce education, workforce of the future. The second group was deregulation, how to pull back on deregulation or regulation, more deregulation. Infrastructure was the third, and then the fourth was tax and trade. And so we broke out into different groups and discussed those four initiatives all around how do we create more jobs for this economy and how do we address the labor participation rate, all the folks that are working part-time and would really like full-time jobs, and how do we jumpstart that with this administration. So one of the things we've seen President Trump do is utilize executive action to try to jumpstart the economy, particularly on deregulatory policies. What specifically, Mr. Styslinger, can he do in terms of executive action with regards to deregulation? What can we anticipate? Well, I think a number of you're familiar with the 2 for 1, so that we're going to remove 2 regulations for every one that's added. So that's the beginning. But then you go and you look at all the regulatory overreach, particularly on manufacturing, and how adversely that has affected companies represented here and throughout the country in terms of being able to add more jobs. And so really looking at each of the vertical industries and saying, okay, in this industry, what are the regulations that are preventing that industry and the businesses from growing more jobs? So that's effectively the framework. And not all of the industries are on the same page on some aspects. For example, border adjustment tax. Did that come up at all? Where is everybody on that? It did, and there's some debate. I mean, there's some clear debate and discussion, and you have some different camps, but there was uniformity of commitment around deregulation. I mean, just in terms of the economic impact that pulling back regulatory overreach can have for so many industries and for the economy. One of the other aspects that I know your company is interested in, this administration has said they are interested in, is infrastructure and bilateral trade agreements in particular. But when we talk about things like infrastructure, when you get into the different trade agreements, are you concerned at all that some of the policy the prescriptions that are being addressed internationally could actually potentially lead to things like inflation? Are you concerned at all about that? And when do you think we could see an appetite for an infrastructure plan to come from this White House? First and foremost, on infrastructure, I think infrastructure is going to be very a top priority because if you look at the economic impact of infrastructure, literally 100 basis point kind of impact on annualized GDP per year. Just by freeing up regulation so that companies can add more people, can invest more aggressively. So regulation is going to have deregulation is going to have a huge impact. And we're clearly excited to see the level of commitment of not only the president, but the vice president, the entire staff, the Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Commerce. Everyone is there at the table saying, how can we work with business to help grow jobs, to help give people more opportunities in America to realize the American dream.